Hi, and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm Kibin Alleyne, and today we'll update you what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up, we highlight Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We speak with a nurse practitioner from Montefiore Einstein Comprehensive Cancer Center to discuss the importance of regular screenings and how understanding your breast density can play a crucial role in early cancer detection. Then get ready for some chills as we speak with the owner and executive director of the Haunted House FearFest, happening from October 24th to the 26th at the Triad Theater in New York City. After that, we learn about Minds Matter NYC and how its program seeks to promote higher education and support low-income high school students to prepare for their future. And later, we will sit down with the Director of Policy and Advocacy from CASES, along with the director of one of its key programs, ROAR. We will discuss how its alternative-to-incarceration program is supporting young people in the Bronx and beyond. So stay tuned, all this and much more is headed your way because we're now officially open. Hello everyone, I'm Kibin Alleyne, and today is Tuesday, October 22nd. You are now watching Open, a program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. Don't forget to stay connected with us via social media at BronxNet TV. In the month of October, medical professionals observe Breast Cancer Awareness Month. With a prevalence of 1 in 8 women, early detection is crucial for the successful treatment of breast cancer. Montefiore Einstein's Comprehensive Cancer Center is actively engaged in promoting awareness regarding the significance of early detection. Nurse practitioner Elaine Matos joined me to discuss. Thank you so much for joining me, Elaine.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I talked a little bit about, 1 in 8 women are likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer. Can you tell us a little bit more about that statistic, especially when we look at places like the Bronx?
Yeah, so as you said, an average woman has about a 13% lifetime risk of developing breast cancer, which is 1 in 8. Unfortunately, in the Bronx, we do see a much higher incidence of late-stage disease at presentation. So we're hoping to change that through screening, because we know that screening really allows for early detection, and with early detection, we can cure and treat breast cancer. Oftentimes, we can even minimize the intensity of treatment when detected early.
Now, I also want to kind of emphasize the importance of early detection. I think that, at least from my point of view, as we talk about breast cancer, the idea of, what we can do is changing. And a lot of healthcare professionals are really pointing out the fact that early detection is crucial. Can you just kind of emphasize the importance of that?
Yeah, so early detection, particularly in breast cancer, completely changes the prognosis for the patient. We know that if we treat a breast cancer early, a woman has a 99% 5-year survival. So that's incredible. And through screening, we're able to detect breast cancers at their earliest stages and really intervene a lot less aggressively than we may need to if a woman waits until she has a symptom like a lump before she presents for testing.
Now, I want to talk about mammograms. I know that many of us, we've heard things about it and we have ideas about it. Can you explain, what a mammogram is and how it's performed? And also some ways that we can kind of get away from that stigma that there's like this scary procedure that happens. Can you, explain what goes on when you get a mammogram?
Yeah, so a mammogram is an X-ray of the breast tissue, and it's done on a special machine that applies compression to the breast and allows for us to look for changes in the normal breast tissue. There are a lot of misconceptions about mammograms and that they're extremely painful. Most women will tell you that they're, really well tolerated. The test itself only takes a couple of minutes. The information that it provides can be literally life-changing because mammograms allow for us to detect changes in the breast tissue, very early stages. And as I said, when you intervene early, the prognosis is excellent for a patient.
Now, can you talk about how, with the advancement of technology, it has made things like screening or, mammograms a little bit easier for patients and, for healthcare professionals?
Yeah, so we predominantly do 3D mammography now. So a 3D mammogram provides pictures from different angles and is better at detecting smaller masses, particularly in dense breast tissue. So about 50% of women have what we would consider to be dense breast tissue, which can sometimes make it hard to see a small mass on imaging. 3D mammos do a better job at detecting that. And they also, some of the testing allows for images to be taken with a little bit less compression. There are also self-compressing machines where the patient can do the compression themselves, which makes it more comfortable.
Wow. Now, I want to talk a little bit, now that we're on the topic of technology, I've been hearing a lot that AI can also impact, early detection. Can you tell me what you know about that? Or, what do you hope to see for the future of that?
Well, the equipment that we use now, the radiologists, of course, review all of the imaging and look for changes, but there is also computer technology that's used to detect changes in the breast tissue as the radiologist is reviewing it. So we're sort of already on the path of using technology to further aid the doctors in detecting change in tissue.
Now, what is DCIS and why is it significant in the context of breast cancer screening?
DCIS stands for ductal carcinoma in situ, and that is stage 0 breast cancer. So it's the earliest that we can detect a cancer in the breast. And the reason that screening is so crucial for DCIS is because oftentimes DCIS appears as tiny little dots on a mammogram. There's no mass that's felt by the patient, and there's no mass that's seen on imaging. So without the mammogram, we would not see those changes. The patient doesn't have symptoms, they don't have a lump. And when we intervene, when a patient has DCIS, their prognosis is excellent, and we can do a lot less aggressive treatment.
Now, I want to know, when you say early detection, that means before there's even a lump there, correct?
Yeah, so for DCIS, generally it presents as changes that are only seen on imaging, not a lump that a patient feels, not a lump that we see on imaging.
Now, I want to point that out because I know for a long time, a lot of women and girls or people with breasts were told, to check for lumps. So, if you don't have that, or if you want to, get to that before the lump appears, how do you know that you should begin screening, or you may be somebody who should look into that if you don't have a lump or you're checking before that happens?
So I think it's two-part. I think that it's important for a woman to always be, for patients in general, but specifically to breast cancer, for a woman to be aware of their breast tissue. I think it's important to be aware of any change that you note, and if there's anything that you detect, of course, see your provider for an exam. As far as screening goes, all women should be screened at age 40, and then they should have a screening mammogram annually. Those are the guidelines that we follow, and those are the recommendations that we make. That's regardless of family history. An average woman begins screening at age 40. For people that are at higher risk because of a genetic mutation or because of an increased family history, then they may begin screening even sooner.
And then when we talk about higher risk, does that, pertain to maybe racial, ethnic backgrounds, socioeconomic status? What would put somebody at higher risk?
Putting somebody at higher risk is generally related to family history, so particularly breast and ovarian cancer, or if they carry a genetic mutation that predisposes them to developing cancer at a much higher rate than the average woman, or if they've had a biopsy that has showed atypical cells or something called LCIS in the past, then that would increase their risk of developing a future cancer.
Now, what should women do, to prepare for possibly, getting screened? And, when I say what they should do, that could also be mentally, because I know that whenever we're talking about health, that could cause a lot of stress. So, what should people do when they're in preparation for this?
So the test itself, as I said, only takes a couple of minutes. As far as specific test prep, we don't want you to wear any lotion, any deodorant that actually can affect the image quality. So those are things that you would not put on day of mammogram. Comfortable clothing, and then just go into the exam as relaxed as possible and prepare for a few minutes of mild discomfort.
Now, I understand there's also a misconception that mammograms, because there's technology involved, that it could cause cancer, or people have a lot of fears surrounding this. Can you set the record straight right now?
Yes, so mammogram does emit a low dose radiation, but the benefits of detecting a cancer far outweigh the risks of the low-dose radiation exposure. So I would encourage all women once a year to have their screening mammogram.
Now, how can women advocate for their health regarding breast cancer screenings?
I would say when a woman approaches the age of 40, they should have a conversation with their provider about scheduling their screening mammogram. I would keep their provider updated on any changes to their personal or their family history, particularly with breast and ovarian cancer. And I would speak to your doctor about breast density once you have a screening mammogram. And if you're reported to have dense breasts, then possibly add in a screening ultrasound as well.
Now, I know for a lot of younger generations, people are a little bit more fearful or just a little bit more conscious about their health. You know, if they are interested in it, you know, what are some methods that they can do to kind of take care of themselves now or prepare themselves for when they are eligible to be screened?
Again, I would have a conversation with your provider. I would assess risk and see if screening is necessary at an earlier age based on risk. And if not, then I would begin your screening at age 40. And I would have your screening annually.
Now, what are some resources Montefiore Einstein provides to support patients during the screening process?
So we actually have BOLD, which is Bronx Oncology Living Daily, and those are cancer survivors and volunteers that can accompany patients, particularly patients that are fearful of going to have their screening study. Montefiore offers many sites where they do screening mammography. Several of those sites have diagnostic testing also available there. So if there's a finding, you don't need to go to another location. The entire workup can take place in one spot, which is convenient for the patient. And we also offer a lot of free screening events throughout the year. So for patients that are uninsured or underinsured or perhaps have insurance but just missed their mammogram that year, they're welcome to come to these screening events and have their mammogram.
Now, where can people go to find out more about these screening events, especially the ones that are free?
So you can call the Montefiore Einstein Breast Care Center. It's also available on our website. And there's also flyers that are usually posted throughout Montefiore to let people know when these events are upcoming.
Well, you know, Elaine, I want to thank you so much for joining us, just for having this conversation. One, because it is needed, especially in the Bronx, where we see so many people just struggle with so many different health challenges. So one, I want to thank you for that. And then I also want to thank you for returning to BronxNet and, you know, educating our community as you always do. So once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
For more information on breast cancer and screenings, visit the Montefiore Einstein Breast Cancer Center website that appears on the screen below. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
Hey, creative family. My name is Timothy Coleman, and I'm the Director of Education here at BronxNet. And I'm standing in BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios in the South Bronx, because I want to let you know about an amazing program that we're bringing back that highlights the creativity of community members just like you. Emerging Media Makers is a show that introduces you to BronxNet's certified producers. They've taken a step in their creative journey by enrolling in BronxNet's media training classes. On this show, you'll get to see the many ways that our certified producers have created a space that's all their own. Emerging Media Makers, your passion lives here.
Welcome back. The Haunted House FearFest returns to New York City. Presented by Haunt TV with media sponsor Den of Geek, the festival celebrates all things horror and the people who bring those stories to life. Owner and Executive Director Renee Huff joins me to discuss what fans of the spooky genre can expect. Renee, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Me too. I love horror, so this is going to be a lot of fun, and it's just in time for Halloween. Now, can you tell me a little bit more about the Haunted House FearFest?
Yeah, so Haunted House FearFest, it's a film and video game festival. I became the new owner about 2 years ago. It was originally based in Europe. And from there, we have a ton of films that will really scare you, that would haunt you, and would give you nightmares to some of you. So it really is a bandit for everyone who loves horror. And it's great. And also video games too. I'm excited to have on Friday evening, the 25th, Mike Manello. He's an executive producer for the Blair Witch Project. We're screening the mockumentary for the Blair Witch Project called The Curse of the Blair Witch on Friday evening. And he's also going to talk about his video game, Broken Spectre, and also a paranormal TV show by Haunt TV called Haunted Discoveries. That's going to do a special screening on Saturday night. And as a lineup before that for a bunch of horror films that I have coming out. So it's really going to be a whole lot of fun.
Now, I'm curious to know what motivated you to be a part of this journey. I understand that you loved horror since you were a little girl, so can you tell me a little bit more about your background in that?
Yeah, so I got started with horror by watching The People Under the Stairs by Wes Craven, 1980s film. I can't remember the exact date. And I read a bunch of horror books when I was young, from R.L. Stein to Christopher Pike to Stephen King. And so through my journey, I marketed horror books at a big publishing company, and then I worked in media entertainment at a lot of major studios and television networks. And through there, I always loved horror. And I know within this industry, it's like you have to have a film background, you have to have this background, but I want to inspire people that there's always a way to make your dreams happen. And I bought a horror festival and I rebranded it from everything that I learned from my career experience. And I'm able to meet with filmmakers, make filmmakers' dreams come true by giving them a platform to promote their film and their video game, and especially horror. And I'm hoping to inspire a lot of female horror filmmakers in the sense to enter their film to my festival. I already have some lined up for next week at the festival, which I'm excited to screen. So that's my journey in a nutshell.
Now, I want to touch on the fact that there's a support of women within the
Mhm.
festival. Can you talk about why that's so important, especially
Mhm.
in the horror genre, and not just women, just all and underrepresented groups
Yeah.
in the horror genre?
Yeah, I think it's very important. I mean, just like with any industry, there is a set that's already promoted or, given a platform for or given more of an opportunity for. And being, an African American owner of a horror festival and having the background that I have, it really is a jumpstart for me to get more women filmmakers and underrepresented voices involved. And so I hope by seeing me, it's like, wow, I do have a chance and an opportunity. And that's why it's so important. Whereas, particularly female filmmakers, they'll probably enter a lot of other film festivals and won't hear anything. But for me, I'll get back to you no matter what. So, and I have a lot of great filmmakers for this festival coming up. So I'm excited about that.
Now, I want to expand on it a little bit further. Can you highlight some of the challenges women and underrepresented groups face within this specific genre on and off the screen?
Yeah, I would say, well, on the screen, if they can get on screen, that is a difficult aspect to it. It's the decision makers behind that. And so, they put tons of money in this film and the film's really good, but then no one would screen it at a festival or no one would give them the platform to even showcase their film or anything else, particularly, minorities within that aspect as well. And even behind the scenes, I would say my own experience. I mean, I've had great opportunities, but I also had some opportunities where I was overlooked. But, I just want to tell people, don't let that discourage you in a way. I use that as a motivating factor where I had a door closed on me. It could be a filmmaker, game developer who has a door closed on them and they think they have to give up. But no, there's always a back door to your dream and journey. And I hope when people see me, it's like I'm their door to help fulfilling their dream and be part of their journey.
Now, because the festival is opening the doors for so many different people to tell different stories, what types of horror subgenres does the festival showcase?
Oh my gosh. Oh, I can just so paranormal hauntings. There is a film called The Queue where I will start off by saying it premieres Saturday night. It's if you feel like fainting or or just closing your eyes, then just remember it is The Queue. So from I have paranormal hauntings, gore, horror comedy. I have Wicked Image, directed by Caitlin Shear. That's a great horror comedy that I have out. Lauren Keller, award-winning filmmaker. She has a film, A Little Glass of Rum. And then also have like a black and white type of movie by Ladan Bahan. She's a Persian film female director, and it's called Maldora. It's basically an aspiring author working on her new book summons a malevolent entity intent on consuming her soul. So anywhere from creepy to hauntings to paranormal to some blood, a lot of blood. It really is a full range of all the movies that you would want to look for in horror around Halloween.
And I also want to highlight games because I've become
Mhm.
a huge fan of horror games. They're so much fun.
Yeah.
And I think they scare me more than movies because you actually take control. You know,
Yeah.
what can fans who are gamers and who also love horror expect?
Yeah, so I'm great. I'm glad you brought that up because that is a sector that I'm really trying to build upon because a lot of horror festivals they just show films and not video games. And so we're kicking it off with Broken Spectre that won best video game last year. And then we also have two other games that I'm going to showcase that I can't reveal yet for horror games that where they won an award, two awards as well. I'm really looking to get more submissions for next year. I will be announcing 2025 right after the festival. And really, I'm looking even for students too, even female game developers. I know they are very underrepresented in like the gaming industry. And I'm hoping to have this festival help, be a platform for them. So, especially students. I love students. Very cool what games they have or what they're working on developing. I'm always wanting to know. And I just want to say it's not just horror, dark fantasy, I love Lord of the Rings, sci-fi type of fantasy. So it really covers the bandit with my festival.
Now, what are some qualities filmmakers and game developers must possess to participate in the festival?
I would say really have like good storytelling. That's like very key for me when I look at submissions and everything else. Is it really engaging? Does the editing make sense? A lot of films and editing that I see, it's very choppy. So make sure that it's polished. Um, Honestly, it's just I don't want to pigeonhole what type of characteristic I see. Just be yourself and let your creativity shine. And I always say to the filmmakers that don't get picked and the game developers that don't get picked, it's like there's always next year. I got told a lot of no's, but I still kept on pushing forward. And, I have a festival to help people with their dreams as well and push forward.
Now, I'm curious to know, since you became a horror fan at a young age, do you
Yeah.
have any advice for children who love horror? And I know there's also kind of some movies that kind of touch on the horror element in a kid-friendly way. You know, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts on that, and what do you hope to see for that in the future?
Oh, I love that. I would say how I like initially got started was books. I was an avid reader when I was younger, from Christopher Pike to R.L. Stein. I mean, my suggestion to really start there. And they don't. I feel like they don't make a lot of kids shows, particularly in the horror genre. Like when I was growing up, I loved Are You Afraid of the Dark? That really kickstarted even more so. I say, graduated to watch The People Under the Stairs, directed by Wes Craven, where I was like, oh, okay, but I would start out with, books and just being an avid reader of horror books, just the storytelling, what makes good sense to you, what doesn't. It helped me decide what I like and what I don't like. I love the haunting and the paranormal aspect of it. I wasn't really like a huge fan at the time of like blood, guts, and gore or whatever, but then I graduated to that. So that's where I would start out if I had to give a suggestion.
And then, what do you hope to see for the future of horror, and kind of tying that into children's media?
Yeah. Oh man, I just really want to see more creativity and more storytelling, but also from different groups as well. Just more representation for women, minorities in general. But also, I want to point out, it's my festival is all inclusive. It's everyone from all genders, all races, as young as you want, as old as you want. It just, has to make sense in line with the theme that I'm looking for. depending upon the year. But that's what I hope to see. Just like be creative, be storytellers, use your imagination, and just, have fun with it and just keep on going, no matter what age you are, children, and even in children's media, like just keep on going, just keep your imagination. Don't let it stop you.
And what do you hope attendees take away from this particular experience?
Oh, well, first off, tickets are only $20. So you get to see like 4 or 5 films plus screening with complimentary popcorn and candy. So I want you to take away just having a relaxing time at the Triad Theater, the venue, for $20. Bring your friends, just sit back and enjoy horror movies. Like, I celebrate horror movies every day of the year. When I'm stressed out, I watch a horror movie and I feel better. But this festival, just sit back and relax and have fun, all for $20. I know how hard it is these days. I mean, even grocery bills are like like go to the grocery store, you get 2 things and you're paying like $50. So that's why I made it affordable for anyone that can come and enjoy and watch a bunch of horror movies.
And I would say for this festival, what is one particular movie you would recommend audiences watch?
Oh no, I have to pick one. I have to pick one? I would pick two. I will say I am excited for people to see Mrs. Barker's Chair that was based out in the UK. Am excited for people to see Wicked Image and Maldoro, which is amazing. And then and I would say The Queue on Saturday night. Those are pretty cool films. So it's like I picked one film for every night. So yeah.
Now, where can people go to learn more?
Yeah, so you can go to hauntedhousefearfest.com. I have information there about tickets and the film schedule. And you can also go to triadnyc.com too to get tickets. So you have 2 places to go to. But hauntedhousefearfest.com has like the most information. So you can email me, festival@hauntedhousefearfest.com. Either myself or one of my team members will get back to you right away. And we're just excited for people who love horror and want to watch horror films, all for $20. That's all you have to do. So.
Well, Renee, thank you so much for joining us. I could talk about this all day because I love horror, but once again, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about the community you created with us here in the Bronx.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
To learn more about the Haunted House FearFest, see the full lineup or buy tickets and visit their website at hauntedhousefearfest.com. Don't go away, there is more open when we return.
.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city, and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak, and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
Welcome back. Founded in 1991, Minds Matter aimed to mentor high-achieving, low-income high school students in New York with college aspirations but limited resources. It has since expanded to become a national organization with 14 chapters across the United States. Executive Director of Minds Matter NYC, Cosette Gutierrez, joined me to discuss how the program continues to assist New York City students. Cosette, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, what was the motivation behind the establishment of Minds Matter, specifically when we talk about students in New York City?
Yes, so 6 Wall Street professionals realized that they wanted to help these high potential students with mentoring to have them access college. They knew that these students had the potential and the possibility, but not the resources to do it. So thus was formed the organization, and really our mission is about connecting these driven and determined students with the people, the preparation, and the possibilities so that they can succeed in college, create their futures, and my absolutely favorite part is change the world.
Now, what was so exciting when learning about Minds Matter is that it expanded, far beyond New York City. Can you, tell me a little bit more about that growth?
Sure. So our success here in New York City has led us to become a national organization with 14 chapters. It was really organic. It happened with volunteers who were here in New York City and perhaps moved to another city because of work or life, and they wanted to keep the momentum going. So we have chapters in 14 cities, in wherever you can think of, the biggest cities. So Boston, Cleveland, Chicago, Houston, LA, I don't want to forget anybody, Minneapolis, but all the places where we know there's a market for our students that need support. So we're thrilled to be a national now.
Now, what are the 4 core beliefs that guide the mission of Minds Matter?
Sure. So we're based on 4 basic beliefs. The first is the power of a college education. We know that education can change everything and that it opens doors of opportunity. So the premise always is it starts with a college degree. We also believe that all students who desire to pursue higher education should have access to the support, the network, and the connections to make that possible. So finding their best fit 4-year college is really important. We also believe that every student has the opportunity to succeed, and it's very important that, and it happens through a diverse community. So we bring together representatives of all different backgrounds to form this community of success for our students. And last but not least, we know that our community must be a place that closes the opportunity gap and really puts the students' needs first and foremost.
Now, what is the structure of the Minds Matter curriculum specifically for high school students?
Sure. So students apply as freshmen in high school, and they begin their what is now a 7-year journey with us. So 3 years in high school and 3 years in college. Each student is assigned 2 mentors as well as a team leader that really guide them through the work throughout the course of their high school program. It occurs on Saturdays, so we actually meet with students and mentors every Saturday, or as my team says, only 20 Saturdays per year, but it's really about making sure that the student receives unparalleled support, individualized attention, as well as a curriculum that gets them ready for college and beyond.
Now, I want to talk about the fact that it's a 7-year program. I know for a teenager that may seem like a large commitment, but truly what goes into that 7 years, and with that, what are some of the lessons they're learning throughout that journey as they're growing?
Absolutely. Well, time passes pretty quickly, and we tell our students day one that it's really about that commitment for them to grow. And it is 20 Saturdays throughout the academic year, so we follow the New York City Public School calendar. So if there's a holiday, there's no Saturday session. And Saturdays are just a wonderful way for the students to come together in this community of this culture of support. In the morning, they'll meet with their mentors, so it's about an hour and a half of the mentors' time, which is again also important because they also sign up for this 3-year high school commitment. So the mentors will spend about an hour and a half with the students going through our curriculum. And then in the afternoon, the students have 2 other opportunities of learning. One is SAT prep, because we know how important it is for our students to be prepared for that standardized test. And then the other one is a lesson on writing and critical thinking, making sure that again, they're preparing for college. So it's an investment. We say it's an extra day of school, but the students arrive excited, ready, they get to see their mentors, and we also give them brunch, which is always a great way to get through the day.
Right. I know once you have food, that makes everyone happy. So I know that's important. Now, I want to talk about volunteers. Can you tell me a little bit more about that, and how do they contribute to the organization?
Well, we couldn't do this work without our volunteers. We have 475 professionals from all different walks of life who volunteer with us to be part of our community. And they bring energy and enthusiasm, diversity of experience and thought, and really provide that one-on-one experience for our students. Collectively, our volunteer corps serves over 40,000 hours a year annually in support of our students. So as I said, we can't do this without them. They're truly the heart and soul of Minds Matter. And we were started by volunteers. In fact, some of our chapters nationwide still only have volunteer leaders. New York does have a full staff.
And among these volunteers, are they college students? Are they people who, maybe in the professional world? What does it take to be a really good volunteer?
Well, it takes a few things. First and foremost, commitment. So someone who's going to be there every Saturday that we have session to make sure that they're there for the students. If you can imagine being in high school and you come to the experience and your mentor doesn't show up, so we want to make sure that people are very committed. All of our mentors do have a college degree, since that's one of our first beliefs. It's important that they also bring that to the table because we want them to leverage their experience in helping guide and shape the students. Professional backgrounds varied. It runs the gamut. In fact, part of that diversity of experience is what we want. We want students to hear from bankers and lawyers, doctors, teachers, any profession that you can think of. We want to make sure that students have access to. But as I said, our volunteers, they're just so generous with their time, their energy, and their commitment to making sure that our students have everything that they need to be successful.
Now, you talked about diversity a little bit. I want to touch on that a little bit further. Why does Minds Matter emphasize the importance of diversity and empathy in its work?
Well, we believe that the world is diverse, and that thanks to the diversity of our thoughts, we can build, sort of a better place. And it's important for students to see and be surrounded by people that look like them. So myself, for example, as a first-generation Latina college graduate, I think it's important that students can see that with the right preparation, you can do anything that you want. You can achieve your dreams. I grew up with a single mom in a low-income household, and to be executive director today is something that I know only happened as a result of the transformative power of education and being able to see that people of diverse backgrounds can succeed. So whether it's our volunteer corps, our staff, our board of directors, we really believe in bringing together a diverse background so that we can put our best foot forward in delivering the best services for our students.
And I'm curious, when you're working with a vulnerable population, like students who may be gifted but come from low-income backgrounds, so they may not have all the resources, how do you overcome the challenges that you may encounter when you are working with them?
Yes. Well, we try to level the playing field. That's really what the organization is about, and provide as many resources as possible. So one example is giving Metro cards to the students so that they can get to program every Saturday, right? We don't want transportation to be the reason that they don't participate. Providing food and brunch and making sure that they have access to that. And at the college level, we even provide stipends for the students that are in college because we think it's important for them to have money on the side for last minute essentials. I remember being in college and having to figure out how was I going to go out for pizza with my friends. So we want to make sure that there's really no reason why the student isn't successful. It's back to that belief of making sure that they have all of the resources so that they can succeed in college.
And I think it's so important when organizations do this kind of work that nothing just kind of exists on its own. It's all a part of a larger system. Yes. So when you look at things like transportation, that's so important. And it's not something that I even thought about, as we're having a conversation. Yeah. I love to see that organizations are kind of looking at those other areas that could be affecting a student's success. With that, what's some different or other kinds of support Minds Matters offers to kids? Sure.
So our program is 7 years. So it's 3 years in high school and 4 years in college. And it's really taking the student from high school through college graduation. There's personalized mentoring through the volunteers. We have SAT prep, right back to that importance of that exam, the critical writing feedback. As they get closer to applying to college, we're doing all of the work helping them prepare their college applications, preparing them for the personal statement, helping the families fill out their financial aid forms. Then once they get their decisions back, trying to figure out what is that best fit college, because we also want students to be able to undertake college but not come out with extensive debt, right? So little to no debt is also a priority for us. So making sure that we're advising the students well. And then once they're in college, it's things like helping you navigate campus. It's making sure that we're checking in over the course of the semester to ensure that they're doing their homework and not failing, which sometimes happens as a first generation or low income student. Then it's really really about career prep, making sure that they're ready, right? So our college program is really about supporting the student through the experience, but also making sure that they're prepared for what lies ahead once they enter the workforce. Interview prep, networking, you name it, resume support, we're there to support them.
Internships?
Yes, of course, how could I forget? Our corporate partners play a big role in helping our students prepare for that work experience with internships, fellowships. Some of our partners create 1-week experiences during the high school program over breaks for our students. So again, it's really tied to the people, the preparation, and the possibilities, and opening all the doors for our students.
Now, once students kind of go through that entire journey, which is so much transformation, from the age of maybe 13, 14 to maybe 21, what do you hope students within the program kind of, when they are in that early adulthood, leave the program with?
Wow. Well, I want them to believe in themselves, right? And that's one of the things that our community does, is making sure that the students know that there's a full support network behind them, ready to support them in any way possible. So believing in themselves, that there's really nothing that they can't do. I also want them to be ready to give back. And by that, I mean volunteering, supporting our community, being that next mentor. In fact, we have several students, now adults, who have come back to the program to either serve as a mentor, as a team lead, as a program director. And that's my goal. I really want to see us continue to build this community that is ready to return to help the future of our country in terms of our students. So that's the ideal, is seeing our students come back as mentors.
Now, if there are any parents, teachers, or even students themselves watching, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to get involved, and how can they get involved?
Yes. Oh, goodness. There's so many ways. So if you're a student, if you're a freshman in high school, this is your moment. So we recruit the students as freshmen. It'll happen in the spring. And it's important that the students participate in a New York City public school, as well as have a GPA of 3.0 or greater. We accept families from all backgrounds, nationalities, regardless of immigration status. So we want to encourage as many families as possible to apply to the program. Anyone who's interested in learning more about us can find out from their school about the application timeline, or also visit our website, which is mindsmatternewyorkcity.org.
Well, Cosette, I want to thank you so much for joining us and talking about this wonderful program. I think it's so crucial we have, opportunities and just organizations like this for students in our city, because as I mentioned, there's a lot of gifted children here who unfortunately just don't have the resources. So I think organizations like this are really making a difference. And with that, once again, I just want to appreciate you for coming out here and sharing this with BronxNet.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
For more information on Minds Matter NYC and how to be a part of its program, visit the website at mindsmatternyc.org. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more Open right after this. Welcome back. Under the leadership of the organization CASES, the ROAR program, which stands for Reframing Opportunities, Alternatives, and Resilience, assists NYC youth and young adults ages 16 to 27 facing challenges within the criminal justice system. The program aims to provide an alternative to incarceration. CASES Senior Director for Policy and Advocacy, Nadia Chait, and ROAR Director Thaddeus Canty join me to discuss. Thank you both so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, can you first just tell me a little bit more about ROAR and its beginnings?
So ROAR is one of the oldest programs with the CASES organization. It started out as the court employment project that served, this is an alternative to incarceration program for youth and young adults between the ages of 16 and 24 at the time. When the inception of ROAR expanded that to ages 16 through 27, and since then we have been providing services to the community as an alternative to incarceration to help transform mindsets.
Now, I want to talk about some of the challenges that Bronx youth could be facing, and the importance of ROAR to step in. Can you just tell us what some of those challenges are?
Some of the major challenges are unemployment, poverty, homelessness, high school dropout rate is high. And so what ROAR aims to address is these challenges and help them overcome those things by providing services that address these particular needs.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about CASES. We had the opportunity to meet CASES before, but can you tell us a little bit more about how the organization helps ROAR kind of assist Bronx youth with this?
Yeah, so I mean, CASES is a large organization. We have a range of programs for people who are court involved, from alternatives to incarceration, other youth-focused programming, mental health treatment, and we're really, all over the Bronx trying to help our young people access opportunity, it's right there in ROAR's name, and transform their lives. But Thaddeus can speak a little bit more about the specific services of ROAR.
So the specific services that we offer is academic and vocational training. We also offer trainings that will help them get like OSHA certificates and things like that. We also provide services surrounding
Well, that's okay. Well, I'm just curious to know, I want to talk about education because
Right.
that's a really important factor, especially since we're dealing with the youth. Can you explain why it's so important that while, these young people are facing maybe some of these criminal justice challenges, that education remains a priority?
Yes, because as we know that the lack of education leads to criminal behavior in some cases, and when you don't have the proper education to be able to figure out what you want to do in life, then you're just left in limbo in your life. And so by us providing services that help them with academic services will help them to transcend those obstacles that they face and and get back on track with their lives.
And what are some of the just areas of support that these people or these young people are facing? What are some areas of support that ROAR steps in to kind of help them with?
Right. So ROAR steps in. So we have a multidisciplinary team that on ROAR. So we have a team leader who oversees the daily operations of the program. We have a court advocate who goes to court and represent our participants in court. They are the liaison between judges and district attorneys and all the legal stakeholders that's around their case. We also have a youth development coach who serves like as a primary mentor to them to help them guide them through whatever it is that they are going through to help them reach and attain their goals. We also have an activities and engagement specialist who will, line them up with trips, take them out on academic trips and, fun and social trips like the movies or museums and things like that. And also, if some of our participants, they come to our program where they don't have certain vital documents like their birth certificate, their social security card, or they need, want to get their driver's license. So we escort them to these places and we pay for it, and we just put things in their path where they can be able to, get the documents and things like that that they need to, continue on.
Now, upon hearing this, one thing I really love to hear was that they're still taking trips because when we think about it, these are children, a lot of them. Can you explain the importance of kind of, despite some of the challenges they may have faced or, the path that they took, just remembering that a lot of these people are children and kind of making sure that they kind of stay in tune with that youthful side of themselves?
Yes, I think that is very important to just get them out of what they see every day in their communities. They may see a lot of things that just aren't fun in their communities. So being able to take them outside of their communities, take them on trips, you get to see the kid come out in them, because a lot of times, unfortunately in the communities, they gotta try to uphold a sense of bravado in the community. And, they really are missing that time where they can just be a kid, like, you know what I'm saying? And so there has been times where we've taken them out on trips and you just notice the difference in them when they're outside on these different trips.
I love to hear that. Thank you so much for sharing that, because that brought a smile to my face. So I'm sure that it'd make a kid that's kind of dealing with these challenges happy. So I love to hear that. Now I want to talk about the role of a youth development coach. Can you just tell me a little bit more about what that is and the impact that it has on the kids?
Yes. So as I mentioned before, our youth development coaches serves as the primary mentor for our participants. So they work with them one-on-one, they give them individualized coaching sessions, just listening to them, just being an ear for them to unpack anything that they're going through and helping them to reach their goals, whatever they are. So our youth development coaches, give a sense of empowerment. It's just empowering our participants to be able to know that, like, hey, we got your back. We're going to help you through whatever obstacles you're facing and, help you reach your goals. Yeah.
That's amazing. Now, Nadia, I'm curious to, hear from your perspective, just tell me a little bit more about, just what you see the ROAR program doing and how it's impacting, inner city youth, especially when we talk about places like the Bronx.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think unfortunately, and Thaddeus has talked about this, the youth that we serve have often experienced just immense challenges in their lives and have not been met with resources, have not been met with opportunities for investment. And so we look at a program like ROAR as, intervening at this sort of critical moment in a young person's life where they, they are court involved. It is an alternative to incarceration. So clearly something has happened there, right? But as really, this is a moment to help that young person transform their life in a positive direction. And, I think when we look at the Bronx, which has unfortunately a very high incarceration rate compared to some of the other boroughs, it's really about giving people what the tools that they need to be employed, to contribute to their community, to be active and engaged parents. And when we think about things like closing Rikers, which we really support as an organization, programs like ROAR are how we get there, and they're how we really create that safety in our community where our young people are in school, are working instead of, engaging in activities that we really don't want to see.
Now, I would love to expand on the Close Rikers campaign, and I understand that your organization supports that. Can you tell us a little bit more about that campaign and why it's so impactful for the Bronx?
Absolutely. So, Rikers is really a stain on our city. It's a place that is a site of immense human rights abuses. It's a place where both people who are incarcerated and correction officers really don't have even a basic sense of safety in their day-to-day. And so we are proud to support the campaign to close Rikers, which will close Rikers Island and replace it with borough-based jails. So, there would be a jail in the Bronx that would be much easier for family members to visit, much easier for people who are there to access services, to just get to their court dates. One of the big challenges with Rikers is it is an island sort of in the middle of its own, set of rivers. And so often people miss their court dates because correction officers are not, bringing people there. So they're staying on the island for longer than they should because they're not able to go to court. And it will also reduce the footprint of our city's incarceration. So fewer people could be incarcerated. And so we really think, programs like ROAR are the solution. We know when we put people in jail, the things that they are learning are not the things that we want our young people to be learning, right? They're seeing violence. They're seeing people not be treated as humans. They're seeing, just, we all see the news reports, really, really horrifying things. And instead, if we can serve those young people in the community,
Yes.
match them with that youth development specialist, that's what's really going to make our community safe and help our young people to show up in the ways we want them to.
Now, I also want to stress
Yes.
that it's an alternative-to-incarceration program, which means that there will still be some development, and I'm sure there will still be an opportunity for these young people to reflect on, maybe why they made the choices that they made. Can you talk about the importance of, having this program as an alternative to incarceration?
Yes, it is extremely important because an alternative to incarceration will not only just help reduce the recidivism, but it also will help our participants be able to find their way in life, because we have a wraparound support of services that we can offer them that can help empower them to get where they need to be in life. So when you're dealing with people that come from these inner city communities and they're seeing so much destruction and just mayhem around them in their lives, like they come to think that this is how they're supposed to act. Like this is because they come from these communities, this is the normal behavior. It becomes almost normalized in them. But our alternative to incarceration program will help change that mindset, help you change and know that there are different options that exist outside of what you see every day in your community. You are able to, just have your mind be opened up to a lot of different avenues that can help you explore, like this is the way to go. And as an alternative to incarceration, RAW is committed to helping these young people transcend above all of these different obstacles they're facing. And like I always say, we just transforming mindsets. We just want to put their minds in a better space. And that is much better than sending a young person to Rikers Island or to an upstate prison somewhere where they're not getting they're not seeing these things that can help them turn their lives around.
Well, I want to thank you both so much for joining us and sharing this information with our community, because as you mentioned, the Bronx is unfortunately one of the places affected by this pretty heavily. So once again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
To find out more about WAR, visit the Cases website at cases.org. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recable cast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum Channel 67 and Verizon Fios Channel 33, or watch anytime on the web at BronxNet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open with Darren Jaime on Wednesday and with Rena Valentine on Friday. I'm Kibin Alleyne, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.